I belong to VFW now. I play keyboards.
Yeah.
I have a little group called Fluid Drive.
Yeah.
I play nothing but dance music. You like to dance? I play all kinds of dance music, plus certain kind of tunes like, YMCA and the chicken dance. And I play sometime for dances at the VFW.
Nice.
But I'm retired now.
Where did you serve?
I was in the Pacific. I was on a ship for a while. It went to Pearl Harbor, and then from there to the Philippines. Then it headed for Okinawa. We're practicing rope ladders, climbing down the side of the ship. They were going to invade Okinawa, but the war ended.
Yeah.
So I was lucky. Nobody shot at me. I didn't get to shoot anybody. But I ended up in the occupation army in Japan.
Yeah.
They had to disarm the Japanese army, and I ended up, I shouldn't say that, but because of my IQ, I ended up in General MacArthur's headquarters. I read secret, confidential, restricted. I read his mail. So every morning I read the general's mail, and I had to keep a record of it and that. I worked in the Daiichi building in Tokyo. So
How often did you meet him? How often did you meet him?
every day.
What was that like?
I really liked General MacArthur. He was the only officer you saluted inside the building. But one day I'm thinking his wastebasket, see, and he said, "Buteau, how come you're dressed in ODs? You're supposed to be in suntans now." I said, "Sir, I moved around so much my laundry didn't catch up with me yet." And he said, "Well, see that the situation is alleviated as soon as possible." I said, "Yes, sir."
Simple as that, huh?
Yeah, I used to come down in the elevator with them and get mixed up in their salutes, But I have a lot of secret things at home that I don't know if they're unclassified yet. I might send them to the Tribune, but I don't want to get arrested.
Give it some time.
Yeah, a lot of secret things I read.
What did you do? What was your main job in when you were serving?
I was in the infantry, but of course, when I ended up in his office, I was clerk typist, and I read the mail, and I typed a short synopsis, put it in the files, in our secret files, see, and I wrote a synopsis, underlined all the important names in red, so anybody could come in my office if they knew where it was coming from, where it was going, what was the main topic, whether it was for info or for circulation, they could find it in my files.
Tell them how Tokyo looked, Dad.
Pardon?
Tell them about the devastation in Tokyo. Tokyo.
Oh yeah, of course Tokyo all burned out all of the ground. They had a lot of dead bodies around. I didn't have any feeling for dead people that I stepped over them, it changes you a little bit, So, but Tokyo really devastated, except the building in that I worked in. The Americans purposely didn't bomb that building or the Diet building. They wanted to keep that for the occupation forces,
So you have a fascination. When you got out of the military, what did you do? What did you do when you got finished with the military?
I went to college under Jai Bill.
Yeah.
I studied design engineering. I worked for Motorola for a while, and then for a transformer company, I designed a transformer for that Nike guided missile. But that system was long outdated, long torn down, and that,
Technology was pretty good at its time, right?
Yeah, all my theory now would be around vacuum tubes and all ancient,
Tell
ancient
about
theory.
the computer on the ship, Dad.
Oh yeah, the room on the ship, the computer room was a whole great big room. You walk on the deck above, you could feel the heat. Now your cell phone does more than that computer room on the ship.
Yeah.
You know, your cell phone will do 1,000 times more.
Sure.
And we're getting near Yokohama Harbor, and there was a mine floating in the water, so sailors thought it would be a good thing to take target practice when these mines with all the things stick. Probably broke loose from Yokohama Harbor and floated out. So they stopped the ship about a quarter block away, and I know one sail hit one side, then the other, then they blew some of it off. Yeah.
It'll be a safe distance
Yeah.
away, huh?
Yeah.
Got to get you up. Tell them about the ship and about Elvis Presley, and
Say it again.
tell them about the ship and Elvis Presley.
Oh yeah, the ship that I went on, the General Randall, years and years later in 1958, it's the same ship took Elvis Presley to Germany. Yeah, they scrapped that ship in I think it was 1979. Had I known that, I would have tried to write a letter to Presley, and because they sold for like 500,000 for scrap, I would have wrote a letter to him, see if he couldn't get all the soldiers that had been on that ship, contribute some money to try to save it. But of course, I didn't know it then that it was scrap.
So you're working for Motorola. You worked and then you worked making the transformers. When did you ultimately decide to retire?
Well, I'll tell you, after what happened then, after a while I worked running a home for mentally challenged people, and then I worked for the Park District. In fact, I worked for the Park District for a while. I worked for Janelle. I started taking I drove heavy trucks in the Army too, so I had a chauffeur's license. So I started taking seniors on different trips for different Park Districts because I semi-retired, that way could make money. So I ended up working 12 years for Glendale Heights in the recreation department. You know. But I worked for Janelle here for a while. I worked for Wooddale, a lot of Park Districts. Took trips on the side, you know, what do you call them? They paid me for the day.
Sure.
You know.
So you're driving along Grand Avenue one day.
Yeah, I was teaching one of my head techs to drive. And there's all kinds of car agencies along Grand Avenue. So I swung up on Old Grand because it was more secluded. And having lived in Addison, I was interested in the history of my condo building and what had been there before me. And I saw this place, and because I had been reading books on Pioneer Home, you could tell right away it was a Pioneer home because they have a lean-to for the Pioneer to sit on. They always have the hearth and the chimney in the back because that was their heat, and also it's the only way they had to cook. No microwaves, you know, in those days, no electricity. So you could tell right away it was a Pioneer home. Well, I contacted the village. They said, "You're crazy." They said, "You need a psychiatrist." So I got the Tribune involved, and they came out, and I found Monroe Fisher. He was 82 then. He passed away. And the Tribune came and took his picture. You could still run it up on the internet. I don't know if you ran it up, but pictures are still there. And Tribune ran a whole page story. And then I contacted the lady from downstate in Charlotte because I wanted to get it preserved. But she came back here with winter. I shoveled a path to the doorway here so she could get in. She She certified it as a balloon frame home with random siding. Circa about 1838. She said the reason it's random siding, there were no sawmills yet till after 1840. So if all the boards matched, she couldn't certify it as being from period 1838 because sawmills came in 1840. So she said it's pre-1838. So, and I had pulled all the maps out. For 2 years I worked on this building. Pulled all the maps out and found where Conrad Fisher built this cabin in 1838, you know. Of course, you know, he was a saddle maker in Napoleon's army. And it's still on the map where Conrad Fisher and Mark, where he built his cabin, you know. So, anyway, I'm glad they're going to preserve it.
What, when you were seeing these places, what were your thoughts? Did they look like they were being taken care of, or is this something, did you say to yourself,
This place?
this is something we got to save? Or?
No, I got pictures of where it was falling down. It was, the floors here were like that, you know. They were going to tear it down. And then I went after the windmill, and I had a key for that windmill. I went in there, all the machinery made out of wood, even the wheels and the cogs. So I went in the cemetery office. They didn't like me. They were angry at me. They said, "We're going to tear this son of a gun down. We want room for more graves." And I said, "No way." So I got that protected too. See, now it's their showplace. It's on their brochure even. And I played music once in a while, you know. That belonged to the Fishers too, because they had the land, 3,000 acres, all the way up past that cemetery, you know. They only got, now 5 acres on, you know.
What was the Fisher guy's reaction? What was his name?
Monroe.
Monroe? What was his reaction to you saying that?
Oh, we spent a lot of money. We went to the printer, did a genealogy of the Fisher family. 8,000 names, put it on a pull-down roll map that goes on the wall. And we went to a printer, had to print it up. And I donated one to the Elmhurst Museum, one to the Addison Museum. I don't know if they ever kept it, but it goes on the wall. You could pull it down and see all the Fisher, starting with Conrad, you know.
When you told Monroe about the cabin, he didn't believe you at first.
No,
What did he say?
he said, "I thought that was torn down years ago." But Esther was supposedly living in that building, but she was in a nursing home by then. Nobody was taking care of it. He was surprised Monroe, son of a gun, still there. She was using it as, you know, tool shed. They never tore it down, so.
So did you bring Monroe over here at the time?
Oh, sure. The Tribune pictures, there was a big tree out there. It's gone now. You got the stump out there. The Tribune took pictures of us leaning against that tree with the cabin in the background. If you bring up Chicago Tribune Archives, History of Bensenville, you could still bring up that picture.
I'll do that. That should
Chicago Tribune Archives, History of Bensenville. You gotta scroll down quite a bit, you'll find a picture of Monroe and I leaning against the tree, discussing how to save this place. You know.
Did you, what did you do after the story ran, after Bensenville acknowledged that the building was here?
Well, then I went after the windmill, so, yeah, and after we got that saved, they moved out of Addison, forgot all about it.
You took some pictures when you found out it was going to be preserved.
I got a lot of pictures of them. That windmill, the arms were,
Accomplished or something? I think just like the famous.
yeah, the arms were falling off that windmill and stuff, and so I'm glad they preserved it now, you know.
Absolutely.
Now they got a little lake there, and it's kind of nice. Oh, a couple weeks ago, my son said, "Dad, let's take a ride to Fisher Farm." I don't know why. So we came here, and that's why I ran into Jonathan. I was glad, you know.
Well, you know what? In a sense, a lot of what's here in these tours and these kids and what
Yeah.
people are seeing is probably a lot because of your. Because who knows what? They may have demolished it if you had
They were.
discovered it and got
Some car agency was gonna buy this place. You know, that's all you need, another agency. They got 10 of them along Grand Avenue.
They
you
got
know.
enough. They got
Yeah,
enough.
they got enough, right?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place. You guys did it nice, you know.
You probably would enjoy the old Civil War days. Not that was a war before
The
your time.
reenactment.
But you would have enjoyed the Civil
And
War
that
days.
Civil War, 30 years after Conrad lived through it.
Yeah.
He was here 30 years before the Civil War. You know,
You know that they do reenactments here every year. They have the battlefield out here and
Yeah.
the cannons. It's pretty impressive.
I think we'll be here for that. If I'm still around, we'll be here.
I'm sure you'll be around.
I like that Civil War reenactment. We went and saw it at another place. Remember? Somewhere.
Cantigny.
Yeah, in Cantigny. So I'm glad they preserved it. I'm glad my son said, let's go for the day. We took a couple sandwiches, come out here and eat, you know. Then,
Jonathan, what do you have? Do you have some questions? Would you like me to touch on some things? We've covered the bases, I think.
Yeah, I think you did. You kind of filled in for me. I only wish I could have met him shortly after, but he wound up moving on to other things, sounds like, and that's why I hadn't met him before this. But I'm thankful for everything that you did. Yeah.
yeah, I like playing music. I play like for the VFW a lot, you know. It's kind of nice. That's my hobby now. You did a real good job on it. This is nice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think when we have the Fisher Farm is open and we've got the people here, I think we have the reenactment of. Is it Esther that gets played in here? She's got a.
No, Louisa.
Louise. Oh, that's weird.
Louisa.
I'm sorry. I'm a newbie. I always remember that. But no, Louisa. They have a lady that comes here and plays her. You know, she's in here making things, and the kids
How
come
nice.
in and.
How nice, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really, it's enjoying for everybody. They have several events here now, so
Uh-huh.
thanks to you.
Yeah, well, that was great. I feel good that my son said, Dad, let's stick around. You know, we weren't doing anything then, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
How many times have you? When you were here, what was the condition of the house? I know this was dilapidated, but what was the condition over there?
Of that house,
Yeah.
just like it is now. I mean, I didn't go inside, but Monroe said that house is full of antiques at that time. I guess they had an auction here, auctioned all the antiques out. I didn't go there. I just concentrated,
Yeah.
on this.
Well, you know what? Kids nowadays, with their iPads and their cell phones
Yeah.
and Facebook, they have no idea what life was like here,
Isn't it true?
and you've lived it. which
Can you
is-
imagine 150 years ago being right here in this cabin? You know what I mean? With no electricity, no way to heat it except that thing.
You know, you'd have to drown out the traffic on Grand Avenue and probably glaze the windows. You could probably pretend, It's-
Yeah,
tell
it'd
me-
make a nice little house right now.
Yeah, it would.
Now I'm looking for a girlfriend for my son. See, he's divorced, so I got to look around, advertise.
Yeah, take a picture of this place. Say, this is this house. Sure it'll help.
I did.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for coming out here today
Oh, my pleasure.
and for your service.
Oh, you're welcome. If we make a video, there's a chance that we could buy a copy.
Absolutely. No. Everybody that's
Yeah, you don't
interviewed
have
gets
to-
a copy.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you'll get a copy.
Wonderful.
And I will also give you guys a complete section of of this video as well, because I'm
Wonderful.
only going to use bits and pieces of all the things that I interview people.
Wonderful.
But I'm going to make sure you get the entire interview we did.
Oh, great.
So we'll tack that onto the hind end of the DVD.
Have you spoken with other fishers?
I've spoken with Donnie, and I kind of spoke with Jimmy, but we had a little technical glitch, so I got him coming back on Wednesday.
Do they remember this place?
Yes, Donnie not so much. Don was more down here at the other house, but Jimmy remembers coming out here during summers in the 30s and 40s,
Really?
milking the cows and doing chores
I
around
mean,
the house.
I wanted to tell you, I went in the outbuildings when I was trying to save this place. There were 2 round cylinders made out of metal, about this big. And Monroe said those cylinders went up in a light plane. They were an experiment, and they each had a parachute in them. And they were experimenting, shutting off the engine of the plane and deploying these 2 parachutes. They thought in emergency a plane could come down on the 2 parachutes. You know what I mean? It didn't work out.
I don't think so.
I don't know if
a little too heavy.
yeah, it didn't work out too well. They didn't get killed with the crash, but I don't know if those 2 cylinders were ever there anymore in the outbuilding. But that's where they were from, a plane experiment. You
Good to
know.
know. Good to know. We'll have to see if they're back there. I don't think so.
They were round metal cylinders about this big. Each one had a parachute at one time.
I got you.
They're probably long gone, you know.
Yeah.